Good evening, everyone. For Telesur English, I'm Sarah Begum in Caracas, Venezuela. In Colombia, the ex-presidential candidate Iván Zuluaga has been questioned over an alleged plot to undermine the peace process. Zuluaga, the leading opposition candidate in last year's elections and an ally of former President Álvaro Uribe, was summoned by Colombia's Attorney General. Last week, fresh allegations surfaced over his links to an illegal operation to spy on both sides in the peace talks between the government and FARC guerrillas. Bolivian President Evo Morales says both Bolivia and Chile are keen to improve relations despite their unresolved dispute over access to the sea. Morales was speaking upon his return from the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States Summit in Costa Rica, where he met Chilean President Michelle Bachelet. The two discussed reopening talks on a 13-point agenda, including Bolivia's claim to a seaport.
Yesterday, we met for 15 minutes with the President of Chile, and we decided to study, analyze, and take off with a bilateral agenda in a general way. Chile will propose the agenda, and we agreed to wait and respond to that, but it's much willingness to restart bilateral relations.
The Bolivian president also highlighted his promise to raise salaries and social benefits for workers.
Any salary increase will always be above inflation. That's a principle we have adopted. Of course, I understand all the proposals and demands. They are important, but people should also understand that at the national level, I have to continue improving the economic and social situation. As far as the minimum wage is concerned, we are no longer the last country in South America, much less in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Moving to Argentina, President Cristina Fernández highlighted that the external debt is currently at 13%, the lowest ever in the history of the country.
Today we have 13% external debt, the lowest percentage in our history of debt in foreign currency in the hands of public and private companies. If we talk of the debtor of the debt, the public one is larger, but what really matters is how much we owe to the private sector in foreign currency. 13% of GNP must be the lowest rate in the world, or one of the lowest.
En moneda extranjera. And staying in Argentina, President Fernández also announced that she will approve a debt extension for provincial governors and a raise in age pensions. We go to Leo Poblete for more.
Yes, that's right. President Cristina Fernández addressed the nation this Friday afternoon in a nationwide radio and televised broadcast from the Pink House, Argentina's government headquarters. It was a purely political message where she announced, amongst other things, that an agreement with 17 governors has been signed, granting provincial administrations a 3-month debt extension. The head of state also announced an increase of over 18% in age pensions, effective beyond March 1. It is the highest increase in age pensions since 2009. She also reviewed all public policies that have been implemented throughout the year, realising the significant growth in the domestic economy as a consequence. Finally, President Cristina Fernández announced that government officials already in Beijing have informed her that the Chinese government has granted the first instalment for the financing of the Nestor Kirchner and Jorge Sepernik hydroelectric projects in the southern Argentine province of Santa Cruz. Cristina also confirmed that she is leaving for China in a state visit to the Asian superpower this Friday evening. That's it for now here from the Argentine national capital. It's back to you in our central studios in Caracas.
Thank you to Leo. 9 newborn babies remain in a critical condition after a gas explosion outside a maternity hospital in Mexico City, which killed 3 people and injured dozens more. Brigades continue to remove debris after the blast caused much of the hospital to collapse. The Mexican authorities are evaluating whether to press charges of homicide and negligent injury against at least 3 workers of the private gas company Gas Express Nieto. The Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto visited some of the victims of the gas explosion. He went to the ABC Santa Fe Medical Center in Mexico City, where many of the injured were taken, and said his government was leading efforts to deal with the situation. Venezuela's social movements have begun a forum on the economic war aimed at countering the attacks launched by opposition sectors. The forum is taking place in Caracas' main theatre and was chaired by the government's economic development czar, Ernesto Villegas. He announced that cheap food supply points will be set up in the country's poorer sectors. He also blasted speculation by entrepreneurs and businessmen. The Venezuelan government has begun work on a number of special economic zones to boost the country's productive capacity and reduce its dependence on oil revenues. The first of these zones is on Táchira State on the border with Colombia.
The location is almost perfect, right on the Colombian border with access across Lake Maracaibo to the sea, 300 kilometers to the north. It's the obvious choice for a strategic project like this, the first of Venezuela's new special trade zones.
These will be exclusive zones dedicated to large-scale international trade, taking advantage of the area's potential. Just imagine, very soon the zone will be up and running with all its installations and services in place.
It's a new way of thinking about planning in Venezuela. Government ministers are here to push forward the plan. One of the basic requirements is that all parties, public and private, take part in designing and developing the whole chain of production.
Back in
Barquisimeto State, we make everything that goes into retreading tyres, and that's what we export. So we plan to build a centre here that will serve both a part of Venezuela and of Colombia. So we help to avoid the smuggling of used tyres, because for each used truck tyre that leaves Venezuela, the country loses $400. President Maduro's decree gives us a golden opportunity, and we have to take advantage of it.
The special industrial zone here in Ureña will include metalworking, auto assembly, body shops, leatherwork, shoes and clothing. The idea is to develop economies of scale that assimilate new technologies and have a multiplying effect around the country.
This opens up a range of possibilities for developing our industries. It will help us improve our capacity to produce, so that later, once the quality of our products is recognized at home, we can begin to export them.
In the development phase, the focus is on setting up management systems that bring together all key support services, research and technology, training, logistics, as well as on identifying the best sites for future projects.
To become a real exporting power with our own currency is the basis for really developing our companies. It's truly a blessing for all of us businessmen in the border area.
47 companies from Japan, China, Europe and Mercosur are ready to start work in these special industrial zones, not just here in Ureña, but in the Paraguaná Peninsula and the Orinoco Belt as well. The final plan should be ready by May. It's a challenge that Venezuela needs to face to end its dependence on oil and develop a truly productive economy.
Moving to world news, the head of the Eurogroup says Greece cannot ignore its international obligations. This after his first meeting with the new anti-austerity government in Athens. The Greek finance minister Yannis Varoufakis told Heron Dişoğlu that the left-wing Syriza government is willing to broker a deal on Greece's debt, but not through the detested Troika. He said it would not deal with a committee built on rotten foundations. The head of the Eurozone warned Greece against changing course.
I realize that the Greek people have gone through a lot for the past few years and had to endure many tough measures. However, a lot of progress has been made, putting Greece back on track, and it is in my mind important not to lose this progress.
The United States has reaffirmed its support for Ukraine ahead of a visit to Kiev by Secretary of State John Kerry next week.
Secretary Kerry will travel to Kiev, Ukraine on February 5th to meet with Ukrainian President Poroshenko, Prime Minister Yatsenyuk and Foreign Minister Klimkin, and members of Ukraine's parliament. The Secretary's visit will highlight the United States' steadfast support for Ukraine and its people.
Texan police officers shot dead a 17-year-old teenager after she allegedly threatened them with a butcher knife. New footage shows. The pictures show officers shooting Christiana Cognard in the lobby of the Longview Police Department. They also show a taser being used on Cognard, which the officers say had no effect. An investigation is underway into whether excessive force was used. A powerful bomb explosion at a Shiite mosque in southern Pakistan has killed at least 50 people, including several children, and injured more than 50. The Pakistani police in the Shikarpur district of Sindh province say the death toll is expected to rise because many of the wounded are in a critical condition. Tens of thousands of Kurds remain in Turkish refugee camps. But after Kurdish fighters claimed victory over the Islamic State group in Kobani on Monday, many are hoping they can return home. This defeat of the Islamic State is a major blow to the organization and its claims to invincibility. The apartheid-era assassin Eugene de Kock has been granted parole after 20 years in jail in South Africa. De Kock, nicknamed Prime Evil for his role in the murder of opponents of the racist regime in the 80s and 90s, was sentenced in 1996 to 2 life terms and an additional 412 years in prison. He admitted to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to over 100 acts of murder and torture.
In the interest of nation building and reconciliation, I have decided to place Mr. de Kock on parole. He has requested that the actual date and conditions of his release should not be made public. I have acceded to this request.
Iraqi artist Akil Kreef takes worn-out shoes and transforms them into faces representing the ugliness of the Islamic State group. A black threaded sole with the toe broken off serves as the face and nose of the jihadist, while old shoelaces evoke both black headscarf and long hair. For teeth, zippers dangle into a mouth formed by the space between the heel and toe, and round metal pieces stand in for bulging eyes. Kreef says he wants to portray the criminality and ugliness of the organization and its acts. Moving to sports news, at an indoor academy in Kabul, Afghanistan's cricketers are training hard for their debut in the World Cup tournament in Australia and New Zealand next month. The Afghans' opening match in Canberra will mark the end of a fairy tale journey for a team born during decades of war. Cricket came to Afghanistan through refugee camps in Pakistan, where countless Afghans fled after the Soviet intervention in 1979.
This is our first time to play a World Cup, 50-hour World Cup, and especially I'm very happy as a captain to represent Afghanistan in the World Cup, and it's a big achievement for Afghanistan cricket. Hopefully we have performed well in the World Cup, and we have the plus point will be fast bowling.
Touching on technology news, a digital systems agency in Poland specializing in software and hardware have revolutionized the concept of small computers. They have created a conventional mouse that hides inside a PC. The project, known as MouseBox, offers a radical alternative to the traditional mini computers. They hope to have the product on the market soon. More on these and other stories on our website, telesortv.net/English. For Telesor English, I'm Sarah Begum. Good night.